Okay, fantastic. So, yes, thank you for joining us today. This is going to be a great session. We're going to talk about a lot of different things. As Emma was saying, if you have any questions throughout the session, please put them in the chat. And if we do have time at the end, we'll answer as many questions as we can. Otherwise, we'll come back to you directly within the next day or two. So what we're here to talk about today is AI-driven testing. So the idea behind this is specifically looking at it through the e-commerce lens. What we're going to be covering is some of the current challenges that we all face. So trying to get things done fast, but trying to get things done well, speed versus quality. We're going to talk about some of the things that we probably all see on a daily or weekly basis, which we're calling a domino effect here in a vicious cycle. So spend a bit of time looking at some of the issues that come with testing and development and pushing things to live, and how we currently deal with that. But then we're going to move into the new world. The second half of this session is what can we do going forward? Obviously, AI is something that is in the title of this. It's something everybody's talking about. And we want it to be there to be helpful. So we're going to go through a solution that we use, how we use it, and how you could use it too. And then right at the end, we'll give you some final thoughts and a gift that you can take away. Now, before we get started properly, I'm curious as to why people have attended the session. So I wondered if you could just pop into the chat a 1, a 2, or a 3, depending on whether one, you're here because you have an e-commerce business or a website for a physical business as well, and you're interested in looking at how AI can help drive the speed and quality of what you're doing. 2, if you're interested in AI and agentic AI in general and just wanted to see what kind of things are happening in the industry. Or 3, if you're still a bit of an AI skeptic and wanted to know what we are talking about today. So I'll give you a second to pop that in. And it's just worth, I think, just reflecting on what you're hoping to get out of the session as well. Okay, thank you, everybody. So first thing we're going to talk about is speed versus quality. As has always been the case, we're all in a position where we're expected to deliver things fast. If you're a developer or you're QA, or maybe you're the person who is expecting things to be done fast or hoping things are going to be done fast, there's always that trade-off, potential trade-off of speed versus quality. And I've been in this situation myself where you do something fast, you test it, you get out there, and bugs can pop through. That's what happens when things are done fast ordinarily. From an e-commerce perspective, this can cause issues. As you can see on the screen here, if the buy now button is disabled, for instance, the person isn't going to be able to complete the purchase. If the screen doesn't load or they can't log in, again, these things are going to cause issues with customers. I've been in a situation recently where I was on a site looking to buy something and the sort didn't work. So what I did was I went to a different site. And this is the kind of battle that we're facing at the moment where small glitches can cause big problems. But it isn't the end of the world because we do have solutions and there are ways we can help you out. So why does this happen? Well, I mentioned right at the beginning as part of the agenda, we were talking about something called the domino effect. So we're in this situation now where you do make changes with any website, but especially with e-commerce sites, there is a lot of change and a lot of that change needs to happen quickly. It could be that there's a new trend or a new product line that's suddenly come to light, and you need to make some changes to your content. It could be page copy, it could be a blog post, it could be a contact form, anything like that. At the same time, you might be doing A/B tests. A/B tests, for those who aren't fully aware, is where you have the same site basically with a few changes and a certain percentage of people end up on site A, a certain percentage of people end up on site B. The idea being you get some insight on how customers interact. The issue with A/B test, of course, is now you have 2 solutions to support rather than just one. You may add checkout buttons in different places, the cart button in different places. You may, even now, because spring has just started be doing seasonal branding updates, it could be something for Christmas, it could be a new marketing campaign, it could be a voucher, 25% off your first shop. All of these things are expected and need to happen, but it do have an impact. And that's why we call it a domino effect, because you could make one change somewhere, it changes something else, it changes something else. And all of this impacts on the QA process, not just the QA team. So we're talking about the devs who are developing this, the people who are testing it, the people who are signing it off, and then ultimately the customers at the end. This is something that's as old as time, really, and has been somewhat unavoidable. The issue with the domino effect and the way that we approach it, as we've seen, is that it can be costly. The reason it's so costly is there's so many people involved. If any bugs get through to production site as well, it could be costly in the sense of a dip in profit. It's a slow process often as well. As fast as we want to get something fixed and get something shipped, because of all the different changes and all the regression tests and all of that sort of thing, the process can be quite slow. And sometimes things can get overlooked a little bit too. And it's brittle. The reason this process is brittle is because it is kind of set in stone. It needs to go through the dev, to the QA, to the product manager, to the sign-off process every single time. And if that fails for whatever reason, it needs to go back through that process. Making changes, and especially doing them quick, can lead to more bugs, as I'm sure we've all seen before. And if you do have, and some of you may actually have, a set of a set of automated scripts to do all of your testing, which is great. We do that as well. The problem with tests can be sometimes they can break. If you change something as simple as the name of a button, that can cause your test to fail. And then we're back at the point of, do we have a defect? Do we not? So we've all seen the domino effect before with lots of different things, but one small change can have a huge impact, which leads us on to the vicious cycle. So here, this is what tends to happen with any software development, not just in e-commerce. So first of all, the customer or the business reports an issue. So I'm just going to pause there for a second, because when we talk about software, like end user software, quite often people will report issues. If I had an issue with something we use internally, I will report it to the dev team. Simple as that. Customers can be different now, can't they? You've been customers yourself, as well as having customers. And often, if something goes wrong, you don't report it, you just leave the site. As I was saying before, with the when I was looking for to buy a shirt and the sort didn't work, I didn't take the time to report the issue to the dev team. I didn't even know how to. All I did was close the tab and move on. So that can be a challenge in itself, even knowing what the issues are. When you do get that issue, it will then often get handed over to the dev team. Please fix this, please fix it fast. And once that's done, they will test it internally and then pass it on to the QA team. The QA team take their user stories, which is, as you'll know, as a customer, I should be able to X, Y, Z, and then test the fix against that. Hopefully everything passes and everything is great, and we move on to the next thing. However, if those tests fails, we go back to beginning again. And that's why we call it a vicious cycle, because you can keep going round and round and round in this exact process. And there are multiple handoff points. The point here is it isn't just a dev team and then the QA team. There's project managers, there's product owners, there's possibly the end users themselves or even the customers. There might be different people within a dev team working on different things at different times. So there's a lot of people involved at all times. The process can be lengthy as well, because obviously there's protocols and ways of doing things at each stage. Whether you use something like Jira to track issues and defects, or Azure DevOps, or maybe even a spreadsheet. There are lots of different things that need to be done in each stage. What often happens as well is there is a lack of visibility too across the business. I could be the product owner, not technical at all. I want to know what's happening. Everybody is heads down, getting to work. The last thing they need is me asking them what's going on. And that tends to lead to frustration and overwhelm for the whole QA process. So when we call it a vicious cycle, it really is vicious, and it could cause a lot of headaches. So what's the result of this? Well, small things can have big costs. That small change to your marketing branding, or that 25% discount or something like that. It isn't just it happens on your website. It could be this happening on your app, your tablet, in different environments. The voucher could affect all sorts of different products. If you think when you get a voucher sometimes from a supermarket, it will say you can use this on milk, bread, whatever. What if it suddenly starts applying to lots of different products? And that's the key thing. If you extrapolate one small issue, it can cause major issues further down the line. And what that leads to is if you do have UI bugs, so a button's not where it's supposed to be, or the person can't check out or something like that, it can add up to major financial losses. But worse than that in some way is the damaged credibility. Somebody who could have been a customer for life may become a customer for life for somebody else. That's not to try and scare anybody, of course, but it's just those small things. We all want our customers to have the best possible user experience, and of course, for everything to work. Cart abandonment is a big issue. This is from a study from Forbes, and they said there's a 70% cart abandonment rate due to poor UX. So this could be there's too many clicks to go somewhere, or the text isn't readable, or something like that. The kind of things where a test might pass because it's technically true, but it doesn't work in a way that customers would like. And then the final thing in terms of costs is that if you do need to fix a bug when you're in production, it can cost up to 100 times more than if you've caught it and fixed it during development. So small glitches can add up to big costs. But that's a situation that's until now been unavoidable. It's a situation we've all been in. We have websites ourselves. We manage websites for our clients, and these are the kind of things that we have lived, believe me. So what we've done is to look at what tools are available to us now, and specifically how AI can help. What I'm going to talk to you about now is a whole new way of thinking about the whole QA process, from dev through to testing, through to delivery. It's one where AI can help you a lot, not every single step, it's not magic, but will help you a lot. Because what we're talking about here isn't AI as like ChatGPT or something like that. We're talking about AI agents. So I mentioned agentic AI right at the beginning. And what agentic AI is having an AI agent do something for you, something that you would have previously had to do yourself. So it could be something simple, like you have an agent that every day reads your emails and sends you an update, a brief, or something like that. That's what we're talking about here. Specifically in the context of testing, we're talking about an AI agent who does some of the QA work for you. Now, what I love about this, as somebody who does develop as well, is that it's doing some of the QA for me, so I don't have to. So I can focus on other, maybe more fun, but definitely more high value parts of my job. In this case, in our solution, which I'll talk you through over the next few minutes, what the agent does is it starts and looks at your user stories. So all those user stories I was talking about earlier on, as a customer, I can log in, put some milk in the basket, and then go and buy that milk. Every single one of those user stories. What the agent does is it looks at that user story, it visits your site, it undertakes the steps that you want it to do, and it's actually doing it. You can see this happening. The milk goes in the basket, for instance. It's doing it just like a human would. It can see, it can type, it can fill in forms, it can scroll, it can check out, everything you would want from that. Then what it does is as it goes along, it writes down, it makes note of the steps that it's taking. Again, just like a human would in this case. And it gives you a plan on the as the output. So we'll look at that in just a second. On the back of that, now you have a whole set of tests that you can automate. The reason we have tests that we can automate is because the agent's already done it, so we know it works. If the agent can't do it at the beginning, chances are either the story isn't any good or the functionality is actually broken, so we know where we need to look. But we end up with these tests. It could be 100, it could be 1,000, it could be 5,000. And we can run these on an automated schedule over and over and over again. One of our clients has an automated test that checks that people can log into the website every 5 minutes. Because that is something so crucial. I mean, I probably run it every 1 minute, but that's something that's so crucial that if it fails, it needs to be picked up instantly. But talking of failing tests, sometimes it's because nothing's really broken. We've probably all seen that sometimes you'll get a notice saying you've got a defect, you need to go fix this, and it's not actually an issue. An example I always like to use is cookies. You might have a button that says accept cookies. Then the plugin changes and suddenly it says accept all cookies. Well, the automated test is expecting it to say accept cookies. As soon as it doesn't see that, it tells you it's broken. However, me and you, we can both see that that's fine. So what happens in our solution is that if a test breaks, the very first thing it does before alerting the human is it will go back to the agent in the beginning, who will look at the story again. And in the story, it'll say something like the user can accept the cookies and move on. What it will then do is do all of the steps again, write itself a plan, write itself a test, run that test. It's now updated to the test to say it says accept all cookies. And then it uses that test to prove that the functionality still works. It still gets logged for you as a human to say that it's happened. But you haven't been woken up in the dead of night to say, well, there's a big issue. Nobody can accept cookies because actually they can and everything is fine. So how this works, I'm going to take you through our solution that we call Helix, partly because of the self-healing aspect. But what this solution does is everything I've just described. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a story library. I'm going to run you through an example for Ocado, which is a UK online supermarket. And in this scenario, we've got various different user stories. So simple things such as I can search for a product and look at the product details. I can search for a product, put it in my basket. I can log in. I can set a delivery location. All these different things that, all these unique little unit tests that people need to test to make sure the site is up and running and people can actually use it. What we've got with the user story is that is a source of truth. Probably people in this room right now who work in the QA world or the BA world who are producing user stories every day. That's great. The user story doesn't have to be very specific. Ours are written on this example in such a way that they call cucumber, but it basically is given I am here, when I do this, then this happens, that sort of thing. But the only thing you need to think about with your user stories is they are not ambiguous. They need to tell the person, or in this case, the AI agent, exactly what needs to happen. If you could hand it to me, for example, and I could understand it straight away, that's perfect for a user story. Let's hand that to the agent. What happens then is once you've got your stories in one place, you could say to Helix or the AI agent, say, go ahead, please run these stories through the planner process and let's see what you could do. And this is how that looks. So here we've got one of our stories, which is as a shopper, I want to view the product details. I can decide whether to add the item to my trolley. We have run the Helix planner here, and off Helix is going, and it's opened a web browser, and it's doing all of the things that we've asked it to do in the user story. You can see over on the right-hand side, it is in the Ocado site. It's signed in as me in this case, but it is actually going ahead and doing the thing. And at all times, you can see the screenshots of what Helix is doing. You don't have to sit there and watch that. I should make it clear because that would be a very long day just watching an AI agent do work in a browser. You can just set up a queue and say, go ahead, please do these, and we'll come back when you've finished. But the key thing is, if you want to, and we said one of the things before was a lack of visibility for stakeholders. This is perfect. This is visibility. This is literally visibility for stakeholders because they can see what's happening. What it also helps with for us and some of the clients who are using Helix already is that if it's sort of going a little bit off piece to what you would expect, and you can see that in the screenshots, it might be that you do have defects, but it might also be that the story needs a bit of tightening up. So this is useful to be able to see it from that perspective as well. The output of this, and this is where the human comes back into play, the output of this is a library of plans. Now, the plans are written in a source of code. It's called JSON, but it's easy for the human to read, even if you've never seen something structured in this way before. I remember the first time I saw something like this, I was first worried, but then straight away you look, it says navigate, it goes to Ocado, it clicks on a box, it searches for milk. It's telling you in here every single thing that it's done. What we recommend, and it isn't set in stone, but what we recommend is reviewing these before you move on to the next step, because this is going to form your coded test scripts that you can run those 100, 5,000, 10,000 times, as I was talking about earlier on. So review that, we're happy with it, we say yes, move on to the next stage. What's great as well is you can see Helix has completed a load of plans. Maybe we were asleep, maybe it was the weekend, maybe it was Christmas, and it's gone off and it's done all the plans for us. We can review the ones that we want to take forward. We can also review the ones we don't want to take forward, and that's why there's a delete option as well, because it may be that because of the story or the planner didn't get it 100% right the first time, you just want to rerun that process and get the plan into the library for more review. But what we need to really escalate this and take it to the next level is these coded tests, these test scripts. Well, what's great is that Helix has a functionality built in where you can do that in less than a second. Literally the same as me clicking from one slide to the next is how long it can take to write these scripts. Now, this is for a standard testing platform called Playwright, which some of you may have heard of, some of you may even use. And this is Playwright code. We don't need to know how it looks. We don't need to know how it works. All we know is we accepted the plan and now we've got our automated test. What that then looks like is there is a testing area of Helix as well, where, again, you don't need to sit here and watch your tests. You can run them in bulk. You can run them on schedule. You can run it as part of a suite. So you've got a regression suite for search, as a for instance. You can set that to run whenever you like. But what you can also do is you can come into Helix and you can see it all happen in real time if you wanted to. And you can see here what Helix wanted to do is it's the add to trolley. So you can see you may need to zoom in a little bit, I don't know. But in the top right hand corner of the Ocado screen there, you can see I've got 3 items in my basket. That's 3 pints of milk, in case you're wondering. And it passed within 15 seconds. That will just keep on running and running and running until the day that it gets to a point where it can't add any milk into the basket. Remember, it goes on to that self-healing process where it tries to go back to the user story and see what's happening to see if it can indeed add milk to the basket. But if it can't, and I'm going to stop saying milk now, but if it can't do that, then what it will do is it'll log it as a defect. So that's the end-to-end. You start with your user story, you end up with repeatable tests. You're there in the middle, but you don't need to be. Now, one of the things we do with Helix is we've got a setting in there for autonomy. So how much do you want Helix to just do things on its own? We recommend everybody, and what we do as well is we put it in the sweet spot there in the middle, which is to review the plans. You don't have to though. You could say fully automatic. And some people do this. Set the planner going, let it write all the plans, let it write all the tests and all that sort of thing. And then come back to it if it does seem to be any issues. But like I say, what we'd recommend is let the planner run, but before we move on to coded tests, you just jump in and take a look. So all this helps to stop everybody coming to a standstill when something does get logged as a potential defect. I think we've probably all been in situations where you might be on leave, you might be on holiday, you might be on the beach, you might be asleep, and then something gets raised to you that something's happened, something's gone wrong. And what that could result in is everything coming to a standstill. We've got to stop working on this other feature because we need to fix this. We need to go and read the scripts and change them. We need to do this before 9 o'clock because that's when everybody is going to be logging on. But sometimes, and I know I've said this a couple of times, it's just that nothing is actually wrong. The cookies button still works. You can still add milk to the basket. And that's where the self-healing part comes into it too. It's all very cool having an agent who can write tests and then do coded tests. Coded tests have been around for a few years now. But the self-healing aspect as well just means that rather than having hundreds of failed tests for small UI changes, you only get the failures where something is actually wrong. So what it means is you don't have as much firefighting because you're only concentrating on what needs to be done. And everybody who would be involved in that whole process, maybe I would get pulled in, maybe half a dev team would be, we can actually work on the other things that we're supposed to be doing, more value delivery. What it all adds up to though is speed. We talked at the beginning about it sometimes being a trade-off between speed versus quality. A solution like Helix allows you to achieve speed and quality at the same time. It also means that you can improve your coverage. That's one of the things that we struggled with a lot with our testing is test coverage. So how many scenarios of things that people could do in the app or the website or your store, how many of those things can we actually realistically achieve with testing? Well, with traditional testing, where you need either a team, or offshore practice, helping you to do all of your testing, even so, because people only have a finite amount of hours, it's tricky to get that high coverage. Obviously, with a solution like Helix, you can raise that coverage up to 90 to 95%, and you could do that very quickly. All of those edge cases, these things that happen once in a blue moon, but do happen, you can start to cover these now and start testing them. It means you can build out huge regression suites. So when you do make a change, remember the domino effect from the beginning, when you do make a change, you can make sure that isn't affecting 100 other things that you didn't even think about. It also means you can find defects faster as well, rather than waiting or hoping that if there's a defect, somebody does report it to you. By having something like Helix that's testing in the background 24 hours a day, you're going to find these up to 4 times faster. Of course, it depends on the size of your business, but you will see a big return on investment for this because something like Helix is relatively low cost. When I was talking about running the tests 5,000, 10,000 times, that's free. You're not paying anything for that because there's no AI involved. It's just running a script. And what's great about that is not only are you saving all that time, but you are saving the money because of all the things we talked about, picking up the defects, increasing coverage, and so on. It also makes reporting easier too. Built into Helix, we didn't have time today to show you all of that, but happy to demo in the future, are various different metrics. Simple things like how many tests ran, how many failed, how did this test suite performed, and so on, to more complex things. One thing would be if a login fails, for instance, what is that going to affect across the whole of the rest of the suite? And it's things like that. And if you're already using coded test scripts, you'll know it can be difficult when things change to make sure they're all up to date. It was a real struggle for us in our team when we were doing this manually, because it could be, again, going back to the accept cookies, we have to go through every single one of our tests where that happens and manually fix them, which is hard work, and things get missed. With a solution, an AI solution such as Helix, you're getting that done for you. So the question on the screen here is why do it? For the relatively low investment of setting something up like this, the question is why not do it? It may be that people are sat in this room right now. You might be sat next to competitors, virtually. If they do it and you don't do it, maybe they're going to get ahead. Maybe not. But we really believe in this solution, and we have many clients who are seeing good gains from this. So I said to you at the beginning, we'd leave you with a gift. Here is the gift, a QR code. If you want to take your phones out, what this is going to give you is our AI QA toolkit. What it does is covers everything I talked about today. It has some hints and tips in there, the things that you could do yourselves right now. And it also gives you something you could take away and share with the people in your company. Also on the screen right now is our address, PiAI Solutions, and our email address. Please do get in touch. We'd love to talk to you. I can see the time is 29 minutes past 1. I've almost hit the deadline. So unfortunately, we won't have any time for questions. But if there are questions in the chat, what we'll do is get together as a team, review the questions, and contact you directly with the answers. If anybody does want to talk to me direct, then please just email the PiAI Solutions address at the bottom. It'll get routed to me and I'll be in touch. And if anybody wants a demo of Helix, same, you know where to come. I'd like to thank you for your time today. It's been enjoyable for me. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. And keep an eye on Eventbrite, because we do this sort of thing all the time. And if anybody's at the Excel Retail Innovation Show next week, we're there. So please do come and say hello.